I've done this, and this is kind of how I figured this out. I've shared stuff before where it didn't get received well, and it kind of came across like, uh-oh, is there something wrong with Natalie? Do we need to check in with her? And so I've kind of developed this system that if it's helpful to share, I call it my drop method. And a lot of times we think when we're sharing stories, we want to tell them in chronological order. But what I found is that when you lead with drama, it actually works the best. Like TV shows do this all the time, right? The Bachelor, it's the most dramatic season ever, right? Like, why do they say that every single season? Because it pulls people in. And so, a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll talk about an experience and I'll lead with the real stuff, the raw emotions. Maybe something like, I remember after I had my babies looking in the mirror and not even recognizing the person in the reflection. And I was so ashamed of how I looked. I would like lock the bathroom door because I didn't even want my own husband to see what I looked like at that time, right? I might lead with something like that. This is just an example off the cuff. But then I go, so that's the D is the drama. And then R is like recognize and remind. So first off, I take accountability for what got me there because nobody really likes a victim. And then I remind myself or I recognize a time in my life, and this kind of goes with the O, which is older, a time in my life that I had gone through something similar, or if I never have gone through this before, somebody else that I've seen go through a similar experience.
Mm.
So what I'm doing is I'm giving myself grace, right? I'm saying, okay, I recognize what got me here, but showing myself some grace for how it happened, why it happened. And then the last step is the P, and it's the most important step, and that's the plan. And then what I do is I usually finish that post or email or story I'm telling, and I tell people either how I work through it or how I plan to work through it. And the reason that's the most important is because one, it leaves it on a positive note. So it's not this like, blah, here's my mess.
Right.
But secondly, what it does is you draw people in with the drama at the beginning. They're like, oh my gosh, she's saying things that I think, but I would never say. And then they read the story and you're giving yourself grace. So by default, that's giving them permission to give themselves grace. And then they see your plan and they're like, okay, if she struggles with that and that's how she worked through it or she's going to work through it, maybe I can too.
Mm.
And it gives people hope. And it's kind of, the story of the 4 minute mile, how nobody had ever broken the 4 minute mile until Roger Bannister came out and broke it. And then the next year, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but a bunch of people broke it. And now like high schoolers are breaking that. But for centuries, nobody believed it was possible and it had never been done. But once that belief barrier was broken, people had hope and they believed that it could be done. And, I think anytime you can give people hope, rebellions are built on hope, without hope the people perish. And I think part of being vulnerable and real is that you're giving people hope that, hey, I'm really struggling right now and this is something that I could work through.